Good to have you join us. This is Close Flow coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center, your reach out station. And we are reaching out to virtually everybody globally. So we now invite you to, well, let us look at the stories of Nigeria, the narrative about Nigeria, and how Nigerians are actually either participating, brilliantly, in the global scene, or they are yet to meet up with the trajectory of growth, across the globe. This time around, we are looking at the creative industry. We are looking at the creative economy. We are looking at how Nigeria, well, some people are saying Nigeria is now more or less, if you like, the superpower when it comes to, well, creative content all over Africa. If that is true, we will try and look at the figures, look at the data, look at the statistics, and see if that is actually true, or we are just, again, creating a giant, only in our minds or in our thoughts. That's number one. Number two, we are also looking at the fact that, yes, the creative economy may actually reposition Nigeria if we can, lock up the opportunities available in that sector. Right now, musically, yes, Nigeria is becoming so expressive all over Africa, and everybody's respecting that. In terms of filmmaking, yes, maybe now in terms of numbers, maybe not qualities, but in terms of numbers, Nigeria is already overtaking India and probably even America. Now, so we seem to have some, mileages that we can actually claim for the creative sector. But in terms of how much we can generate or what we can lock into, especially on the continent of Africa, it is projected that we are looking at about $2 trillion continent-wide. That is the amount of money they think we can make, $2 trillion by 2030. So can Nigeria significantly lock into that projection? $2 trillion only on the continent of Africa. So if Nigeria is going to be the imperial power, in the creative sector in Africa, then that means Nigeria should be able to take at least, if not to 50%, at least 30% of $2 trillion. So I have somebody with us in the studio who actually, well, because he's a creative person, you can see we are seated, that's the kind of thinking that he does, the kind of expression, he needs to package how your drama, your musical, your presentation, how everything actually is packaged and presented in an attractive way on television and, of course, in the film industry. So he's here to speak to us about, yes, the prospects in the creative sector, or maybe the deflection in the creative sector, or maybe the lack of aspiration in the creative sector amongst Nigerians. So you are going to be a part of the conversation, so just stay with us, and when we get to meet our guests, then you'll be ready to ask your questions. Stay with us. So there you have it. You have Leonard Omoseebi with us. Leo, you're welcome to Close Flow.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
Well, we just hope that Leo is going to be like, maybe we are going to be enjoying some papal conversation, yes, because we have a Pope who is a Leo and we have a Leo who is a creative director. So you're welcome to Close Flow. Quickly, let's, I said something in the intro that we are projecting, or that is being projected, that $2 trillion can be earned across Africa between now and 2030 from the creative economy. You think that is realistic, and do you think Nigeria can actually lock into that opportunity?
Definitely. Nigeria can lock into the opportunity, and we're on our way to doing that. It is not a vague assessment of Nigeria that we are the culturally dominant force in Africa, right? And from our small screen interventions to our current big screen interventions, we have seen people who travel out of here, who get to talk to us in the languages they think we are from, because they just see you, they call you Igwe, or they speak Yoruba to you because they have seen our content. So those projections have not been made for getting Nigeria's impact or Nigeria's way in getting to that point. And you know, in your intro, you mentioned something about aspirational. Nigeria is very aspirational, right? You know that they say that there's no lazy Nigerian actually. Yes, everybody's hustling, everybody's doing
On the street,
on
yes.
the street. So for that reason, in our industry, the entertainment industry, the creative industry, there are many laborers for the field of work. There are many. You understand? So it's an aspirational industry. It's an industry that welcomes all comers, and it's an industry that pound for pound contributes to the image of the nation.
Great. Okay, so let's drop our hats to a creative mindset, telling us exactly how prospective Nigeria can be. So let's come to the brass tacks. So setting up, how is it that we see foreign movies, foreign stories, very impressive, attractive sets, and locations and scenic impact, but Nigerian Nollywood is just, besides juju and all those, what? So why is that?
So it's a combination of two factors. The first thing is Hollywood started in the early 1900s, right?
Yes.
So they've had a kind of scale, and Hollywood onboarded from stage excellence too, right? It was basically people setting cameras to stories, right? For us, we must understand that we did not have the way and manner to express ourselves until after television was introduced here, and we could do our own thing. Herbert Ogunde, who was touring, even made colonial resistance, for lack of a better word, as the case may be. So what we have is a situation whereby if you look at where we are coming from and where we are now, we have done a lot. Then, of course, ultimately, there's something called finance, right? The ability to attract finance, which is still an aspect of the way the societies out there are structured, to back up dreams and support dreams. You read it every day in business, in enterprise, in technology. There's always the other story about how somebody came up with an idea and the society backed him or her. Here, we have people chasing. Nollywood exists in the same social milieu as every other business in Nigeria that exists. Yes, we are showing workings. We are showing the pound for pound we bring in value to Nigeria.
Okay, all right. Let's see how that is going to rank with other Nigerians. Of course, we'll give you the question, the number, for you to send your question, your query, or your agreement or disagreement with Leo on some of the points that he has raised there. Now, looking at the rapidly expanding creative possibilities globally, do you see Nigeria's virtual or visual artists in the best competitive capacity? Do you think we can compete and take over? Do you think we actually can rhyme, or we can stand head to head?
Okay, let's start from the most obvious and basic art everybody knows, right? Let's start from music. I mean, whoever the legends may be, we have them pound for pound. And if you look at some of the, should I say, validation methods or validation agencies and validation spaces, the Grammys,
yes,
and all of that.
Yes, the Oscars, yes.
We've had King Sunny Ade nominated as a Grammy person long time before, Angelina Kidjo, Femi Kuti. So that's music. Burna Boy can stand shoulder to shoulder with anybody on the planet. So, and all art is art. It's the same thing. Individual art, we had the Benin Wonwos that did a portrait of
Yeah.
the queen in
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah.
So the average Nigerian is not somebody that stays behind. You know, the average Nigerian, we are known to, you know, should I say, match our, I don't want to say gra, but we can match anybody in the world. So when we now come to the issue of the movie industry, okay, we may be, should I say, slightly, I use the word slightly because, I mean, Netflix and Amazon came to this, our terrain, and they wanted a bit of the Nigerian juice, a bit of the Nigerian power, a bit of the Nigerian spirit. So that's it. So we are as positioned as anybody. It's not for show that we produce the kind of content, and in fact, we're producing so much content that we are now number 2. It's
Yes.
number 2,
Yes.
number 3
Yes.
as
In
case
terms
may
of
be.
volume, yes.
And in spite of the different challenges that this industry had, right, we also, from the lack thereof, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. If you go to some circles, you will hear that we pioneered the use of digital technology in things that were happening. People were still stuck on the cinematic film spooling, but we were already doing digital video, and now everybody's going digital. So that's one thing to say. Again, like in all enterprises, finance is the water and fertilizer of something that grows, and Nigeria can do more, right? If and we have seen in our sector certain, should I say, interventions from government that gave us that, you know, there's a bit of skepticism when anything you hear something government wants to do something, but so far from where I stand and the guilds and organizations I'm involved with, we have seen a kind of very intentional engagement with our industry to position us, you know, something like the CEDF, Creative Economy
Yes.
Development
Yes.
Fund, you know,
Yeah.
we've not had that before. An administration came and created creative economy to find a way just to go away from the normal tourism and art and culture, you know, creative economy, and that's it. So we are seeing some interesting engagement, and for me and for most of the practitioners in our field, there's nothing we cannot do once the enabling environment is there. In fact, we are doing this much with this environment, so please.
Okay, all right. We are looking at the environment, but the other emerging aspect of the environment is the AI involvement in some of the expressive movement that you have to take now. So, do you think we have the capacity to engage AI in telling a story that will be emotionally attractive and
I will tell you this: there's going to be an AI film festival, and the date eludes me, but I will get back on that. There's an
here in
AI
Nigeria?
In Nigeria, exactly. It's being headlined by a man called Obina Kerocha, right? He's a techie. He works on the finance space. So, I mean, AI film festival where they've invited content creators, movie makers, because AI is being used as stopping the gap measures to drive down costs.
Yes.
And we're already doing that, you know, and a lot of people are deploying AI, as the case may be. So that should give you an idea of how we are part of the ongoing conversations in using technology creatively and proactively and adaptively to solve our problems.
Okay, all right, that is good. But what some people are worried about would be that about the well, some are saying that the AI, the algorithms that some of the AIs actually are carrying are already biased, already prejudiced. So, how are we going to be able to do that effectively globally?
If I understand you correctly, prejudiced AI is almost like saying everything you consider aspects of beauty are a bit white-centric, right?
Something like that.
Exactly. And I remember watching a TED Talk where somebody said it was in our interest to start feeding the digital ecosystem with images of black beauty, black fine babies. You know, when you think of
And costumes and all that.
when
Yes.
you think of a beautiful baby, you think white. You don't think black immediately, you know. So there's been that charge, and like I said, we are not stepping back. So when you talk about costumes, when you talk about art, culture, I mean, before this AI all over that's been, you know, become trending, we had things like Black Panther that showed us the alternative visualization of what Africa could be if it was on its own path to technological advancement.
Yes.
So the challenge and the onus is on us to represent ourselves. And like I said, the Nigerian creative industry doesn't relent in doing this at all. You know, doesn't relent in doing this. So That's the question. That's the way I would say that.
Okay, all right. From your own experience now, if you want to dig deep now from your experience, do you think we have the predisposition to actually, contest globally in the way we present aesthetics in our movies, in our stories, even on television?
So let's start by saying this. I'll start from saying that do we have the valuable art that the world wants to see, right? I can start from there. Please, they sacked the Benin Kingdom. They cutted our artworks. So there's something we have
Well,
that the world
they are
wants
returning.
and
They are returning some of them, yes.
And that has not changed. In as much as culture is in transition,
Yeah.
it means that the
Yes.
same spirit exists that makes people seduced and interested in knowing what is about Nigeria. So we have everything that it takes to, make our stand, make our space, hold our space. Starting from our music, and ultimately all these things, when they combine together, they create what people have come to call the soft power that basically compels people to be invested and interested in your space. I mean, do I need to mention Dirty December? Do I need to mention there are too many interventions in the space that make people want to be Nigerian. You see interventions in the space where people are like, if you are married to a Nigerian man, you can be expected to be love bombed. Even though we know there's also the converse of that, but we Nigeria is the trigger point of Africa. That says a lot, even from the map. When you look at
Yes,
it
yes,
so
yes.
that trigger means we will always be triggering conversations, and we will never ever be behind anybody or any cultural expression.
All right, don't let's say that you're not disappointed yet. But now, one thing that some people are saying is that developing world-class cinematic, works, like you said, requires some kind of investment. So why are we not getting that kind of DFI? Why is Nigeria not attracting, especially in this industry? Why are we not getting that?
So I guess there are many routes to the market. There are many ways to skin a cat. For everybody that says yay, there are people that say no. So I guess it is still a function of the vision that people have. And that vision is an expression of capitalism, business class, right? We see situations where people go and invest in other spaces ostensibly because the environment is fine. But we see a situation where people have come here to stay and invest in the space, and we are doing well. Yes, our cinematic expression is not for lack of ability to perform art. It's the fact that we have certain constraints when we want to create art, right? Creating art costs money. In fact, filmmaking is arguably the most expensive art form creation vehicle. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of professional work, time to create a film. And we also have what we call the shelf life, right? When you create a film, the space in which you can show it. Right now, our space, we still have less than 500 cinema screens. Some people tell you it's a little over 300, while the US has over 40,000. So somebody that creates art can compel somebody and say, Mr. Martins, please come, drop this money, I will do good work, and all things considered, I can sell it in 1/3 of the cinema screens if I am lucky, and people will ask for it. But here, there's that thing about 300 cinema screens. So it is not for lack of people not being able to do world-class material. It's because sometimes the businessmen will go like, what's the outtake? And all of that.
What's your ROI?
ROI. But yet, we have people that are investing. We have people that are investing in building more cinema screens. I understand that there's an initiative from the Census Board with some private individuals to create community cinemas. Because we've always said it that we need more community cinemas where the average Rasaki can come with his Rashidat and they can watch a film for something far more affordable than what we have in the cinemas now. It's a mass consumption, should I use the word? It's a mass consumption medium. So cinema should not be expensive. It should not be as expensive as it is right now.
Now that you have mentioned that, somebody actually gave us the impression that now that we have local government autonomy, why can't we have cinema houses at least one cinema house in every local government, at least?
So if we have one cinema in the
That's
774 local governments, that will, in addition to what we have now, be bringing it close to 1,000. That will still be inadequate for a nation of 200 million growing, right?
Yeah.
But it is still something to do. Now that the local governments have been empowered by law and the economy, the politics, to say don't retire your money to the person that said that put you there. We are imagining that they will be more invested. They need to just see that the community cinemas can work. So if you have 3 screens, 2 screens,
Yes.
and not too elaborate,
Great, yeah.
but accessible, it can happen. Because let's not forget, when we were touring, the cinemas of the past were very basic infrastructural stuff, and people could come and watch.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is a very, and this of course goes to all the LG chairmen all over the country. If you have cinemas, it's going to impact on how people produce. You don't have to talk too much about young people, because everybody wants to be on screen.
Yeah.
The average person knows what content creation is. Even mommy, daddy is roasting things on the market. You know that once you see a camera, you're like, these children want to do something that will make us laugh, that we're watching our phones. But the cinematic experience is that you can come as a collective and watch something that speaks to many other things. Like I said, it's an art form. And what is art if it's not a thing of beauty that speaks truth, however it wants to be used? So that is one take-off point. The local governments can definitely...
So you are appealing to local government chairmen across the country?
It is in their best interest to do cinemas, because again, it brings economy, boosts the economy. Then we can go to cinema and be eating plantain chips, not necessarily popcorn. And you can now have something that is a local delicacy that you can make people in your community can watch, can eat while they are watching. Yeah. And then it means that tomorrow you are going to, it's up to the local government, it's consonant with their state governments and government to drive policy that will make cinema. Once cinemas proliferate, I mean, everybody that is above 30, 40 years can remember that there was a time you watched Indian films, Chinese films, and all of that. And children were coming. And you could almost tell people, if you do your homework, you can go and have a sneak and come back. Yeah. Those are the things that we need to do. And we now need to use the same way we watched foreign films,
Those days.
If we produce, who is to say somebody in India is going to say, I want to watch a Nollywood product? They can listen to our music, they can watch our films.
All right, that is very encouraging. Leo is saying to us that we should not lose hope yet, that the hope actually is being revived across Nigeria, if only we know how to, fight for it. So the number to reach us with your SMS or your WhatsApp question or comment, either agreement or disagreement with Leo, 070-3340-8755. 070-3340-8755. Let me say that again. 070-3340-8755. Let's have your comments. Let's have your own opinion about what he has said so far. He has painted a picture. Okay, he's the one painting the picture, so let me just give him the space. Okay, all right, let's come back to something again that as an illustrator, you have to create the ambience, the scenic ambience and all that will make people to be emotionally attached to the story or the storyline or what you're sharing with the public. Now, what some people are saying is that we are not seeing enough magical moments in some of the stories on our television, on our films. I'm not, when I say magical, I'm not talking about the juju things. Yes, we are talking of, the beauty, the magical beauty that you see in some foreign movies. Why can't we depict such in our own movies?
Well, I would disagree with that. What can be said is we are not seeing as much, meaning in terms of number, right? Like I've said before, to create cinema is expensive.
Yes.
Although it doesn't mean people that only have money can create good cinema, right? Sometimes you need to think, like all craftsmen, if you know your art, you can, it's like cooking soup. It's not all the money that in the world can make the soup good. Some people are skilled, they will make something
even
on budget.
From little years.
Yes, as it were, you are well and go and all of that. So I'm saying that there are many movies that have been released that have captured the imagination, that have captured the imagination and the interest of people, even on Twitter. Now, so Twitter is our social media space where everybody talks. I will reference To Kill a Monkey that just came out on Friday. Nobody's going to watch it and say we are not seeing the magic of Nigeria, right? There are some films, and not all films are necessarily glossy. We saw a film yesterday, Cordelia, by our famed legend TK. It talks about life in the pre-democratic era of military rule. Yeah. Some Nigerians were born in the democratic era. They might not have an idea what military rule is like. You watch Cordelia and you have a sense that, wow, there was a time we were terrorized like this. So again, there are many films that do the needful, that stand, that, should I say, that hold their own, but they might not be as many as what you see. Then two, some films are gratuitous. You get what I'm
Okay.
saying? They just pack things in it, and they might not have taste and style. And I feel, and I will say this, even though there are many people that explain that, look, it is what the audience wants to watch. So there is the taste of the audience saying that we like this thing, this is far better, why can't Nigeria do this? But ultimately, it's a question of the fact that Nigeria is doing the good ones. They might not be as much as what it should be. And I've already established that before now, explaining that, look, it's about investment, it's about attention to the industry, it's about vision. When South Africa decided to get an Oscar within 10 years of a particular person coming, they were intentional. For example, we have Oscar selections now where films are going to the selection committee where they are screened. We're entering there.
The process.
Exactly. We had a film screened at Cannes Film Festival where it got serious applause. We are having our films and our content screened at different international fora. We have our entertainers entering film in production. Tiwasawe did a film.
Yeah.
Burna Boy is in process of releasing one. We are beginning to see, and I would say that we are beginning to see situations whereby there will be more of those things produced, and it will be a thing of the past to say, you didn't do as much as you should have. So the question should be, it should be more considering our population, but it's not that we are not doing what can stand on its own.
Okay, great. All right, so we are looking forward to seeing more coming from Nollywood, so that at least it will not be just numbers alone, but also quality. Now, digital artists, just like you said, where Nigerians have migrated to right now, use softwares and tools to even do animation, to do illustrations and all that. But so are we training Gen Z to develop our own softwares, not the ones that we are actually, as it were, buying from? Yes.
So that will be something we lay back to the visions of capitalists, and this is where, if I may say, the science and tech industry / ministry come in.
Yes.
Because when you talk about writing software, right, I know there are some programming software we must learn how to write before you can create your own.
Yes.
And what you're saying is interesting because it means there should be a conscious investment in people creating software for our own use, because software is a form of intellectual and scientific penetration of spaces.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If somebody says we can't use our software, we can't sell it to you again because of one thing or the other, you are stuck. So I guess there's a big opportunity there for our digital artists. Yes, they still use the existing software because those have been proven, and they've been proven from developed markets. But I'm saying that we can also do the same thing. But for example, this will make me reference our animation industry. It's a budding industry. And again, what still attracts people here is our stories. We talk about Iwaju, for instance, which is top of the shelf, and other things that are coming down the line. I know that the animation / comics, like digital art, may appear to be like a subculture or counter underground culture, but you see, there's a Lagos Comic Con convention that is going to be in its 13th edition this year. People have been pushing the message of all forms of art. They might not have gone mainstream, but it is there, and that's why my conscious and earnest belief is that the moment significant investment comes in, people will just think, where did you guys come up from? It will just jumpstart, and it will be some serious virtuous circle.
Okay, all right. As currently the executive class of that is the group where you have costume designers, you have
that's CDGN.
Yes. Now, so the guild, what actually is the guild there to, recruit Nigerians, to train Nigerians, or to orientate Nigerians on exactly what the creative sector is all about?
So CDGN is Creative Designers Guild of Nigeria. I'm currently the national secretary. We've been in existence since 2002, and
2002.
Yes, it came about after Nollywood had an internal review process to, professionalize the industry. So some guilds and other associations were formed. So we have been in existence since 2002. We are the umbrella group for costume designers, makeup and hair artists, and all that. And we are basically a union that protects the interest of our members, right? We are involved in training, ongoing professional training, whereby within ourselves we make sure we bring to mind the different and current tools, innovations in the industry. The average filmmaker can understand by watching a film what is going on. And then we have had a situation whereby when members join us, we basically protect them. Something unsavory happened over the weekend, and our guild was instrumental in getting some kind of resolution to what happened. So the Creative Designers Guild of Nigeria is there to serve as a kind of protective body for the people that identify with us, essentially. And we are one of the, should I say, 21 organizations registered with the National Film and Video Censors Board. The National Film and Video Censors Board has consciously tried to professionalize the industry by saying, okay, it is still a community of self-interest. Everybody comes together, and there's something called the regulation of people understanding how to look out for their own interests.
Yeah.
So it's not as haphazard as it may look. You know, I can speak for myself. The Actors Guild, the directors, the producers, they are all, you know, in different associations where they talk and administer and pass on professional excellence to their members. So to answer your question, the CDGN, which I'm a part of, is involved in making sure those standards are maintained, and we are open to inviting as many people who are currently practicing outside of our guild to join us, you know, because we know it's not only the more the merrier. We all come together and we, you know, iron sharpened iron, as the case may be.
Okay, iron sharpeneth iron, that's what he's saying. So you have to add your own voice to what he has said so far to sharpen or to hone what we have heard or what we have earned from him, you know, on this show. We will take a break now. Let's give him a breather. So we have a little champagne for him here. So let him just take a little bit sip of it. And then we'll come back. Then you can let us have your questions or your comments. And of course, Leo will respond. Just stay with us.
Government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipments will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
Thank you for staying with us. We see Leo in the house, and like I said, we hope that he's been very papal in his presentation. That he has given us, you know, some kind of supervisory, you know, opinions on how the industry is actually. No, but it's important to also learn from him. Maybe he can give us his own example. Okay, so if you're going to recall some of the works you have done, some of the programs you have curated, yes. So how disappointed are you, or how happy, how elated are you with some of the things that you have to work with?
Okay. First things first, I've had a kind of interesting career. I started off especially from Tinsel, African Magic Productions, Mnet, where I worked under the leadership of Rogers Ofime, and I was part of the set department, and from there, over time, I've grown to become not just a set designer, but an art director, production designer. So across my career, I've done different things. I've worked in TV, I've worked in music videos, I've worked in reality shows, and I worked in film, commercials, one or two stage plays here and there. And the basic thing is this: for as long as there is something to be viewed, for as long as there's a message to be passed, storytelling is the vehicle. I mean, if we use the Christian faith,
As an example.
as an example, Jesus spoke in parables. They were stories, right?
Mm.
So, and if you are familiar with what is happening right now, there are some AI generated videos of
Yes.
how the main characters and protagonists in some of the Bible stories, if they were existing in modern time, how they will be talking. So storytelling is the vehicle for passing information. We are social animals, right? And you use storytelling. After passing your messages, you need to, should I say, situate your stories in spaces. That's what I do for my work as a set designer, art director. So we create the environments in which stories happen. The environments need to be realistic so that it's believable. And once it is believable, the audience is drawn in to listen to what the message is. We don't work alone. We work with other people. Of course, obviously the cameraman, the lighting,
Yes.
the gaffers. We work. So in Nigeria, the creative industry or the creative department, for lack of a better word, is basically segmented into the creative versus the technical. The technical are the audio guys, the gaffers, the cameramen, the editors, and all of that. While we are the creative. Not to say there's no creativity involved, but just for nomenclature reasons. So costumiers who make sure the story is believable by their attires, one. The makeup artists who make you know that this person they enjoy, this person they suffer. Sorry for speaking. The hair tie, makeup and hair work together.
Yeah.
You know. Then the props masters, that might not be as
Clear,
but they are the properties used that any actor that that uses something in the vehicle of the story that is using a prop. Then the set designers. Oftentimes the art department refers to props and set, right? So when you're on a television set, you hear art department, they're basically talking about those two people. Then production design encapsulates everything, the look and feel. So I usually tell people the rule of thumb is when you're looking at any program on TV and you don't see the ceiling, you are possibly in a studio, that kind of thing. Because again, lighting comes from overhead to illuminate the characters in front of the camera. We are dark-skinned people, and I've heard from some of my lighting friends that we have very, should I say, low luminance, right? So we need to pour a lot of light on us. And people forget that the eye is the most sophisticated camera. So you need to pour a lot of light on a human, on a black person, or like a white person. But technology has gone ahead to take care of some things like that. So ultimately, in our profession, everybody comes together to create a compelling story that somebody can listen to, with the overarching vision being, should I say, supervised by the director, to make sure that people come and consume a story. And it's been an interesting career. It's a film set is very intense. Typically you spend 12 hours.
To set it up.
Typically,
Yes.
internationally you should spend 12 hours. When you spend anything more than 12 hours, you're in overtime. So in developed markets, they have an overtime structure. But here, we are getting there, And I would almost say it's because everybody is trying to still push to make sure that we are, when you look at our communal societies then, where people come together and help somebody build a house when it's of marriageable age and all of that. So there's that camaraderie and there's that sense of passion and working together.
Yes.
It's what projected our small screen Nollywood, because when you listen to all our legends, they tell you that, man, there was love on the set, there was passion, there was no money, Even when they got awards, MON, they say they didn't add the EY. That kind of thing. So, but ultimately, it's an interesting thing. And when you leave the energy of a set, when you wrap, and you are thinking, I can now sleep, I can now catch up on my rest. In another
2-3 hours, you're back on the street. Okay, all right, great. We have some viewers already asking so many questions. Anyike from Lagos Island. Anyike says, well done to our guests. It says, what are the requirements for becoming a member of Creative Guild of Nigeria as a young creative person? That's Anyike.
Okay, thank you, Anyike, for that question. The requirement is you come to meet us. We have an Instagram page called Official CDGN Power of Nollywood.
You better say that again so that you can get it right.
So we have an official CDGN Power of Nollywood Instagram page. And on Facebook, we have the group called CDGM Prime. If you come to meet us, we'll be able to evaluate what skill set level you are in. We'll determine whether you are an associate or a trainee or a full member. Like we said earlier, we have people that have been practicing, but they are not aware that this body exists. And we are welcoming everybody that can take advantage of that situation. When you come to us, we will interact. We'll have a face-to-face, one-on-one. We have state chapters all over Nigeria, right? We have in Lagos and we have in 12 other states, as case may be. So, but when you interface with us, we'll be able to direct you wherever you may be. If you're in Lagos, you come to join the Lagos State chapter. We have meetings, and Nollywood, interestingly, has meetings with guilds at specific times of the month, right? For us, we meet every last Thursday. Some states meet every last Friday. It's a bit convenient because we're always on the field.
Yes.
So there's a specific day Nollywood meets, different guilds and all of that. So we meet every last Thursday of the month, and this month we're going to be doing a physical meeting. Because after the COVID situation, we've had to, prioritize and make things a bit conducive for our members. So we have online meetings and we have physical meetings. But we're having physical meetings this month. And our meeting point is somewhere in Surrey. But we'll tell you more when you do contact us.
Okay, all right. That is fine. Okay. Then we also have Shola from Bagada. Shola says, as an art director, what exactly do you do on a movie set? That's number one. Does your work start during production or during post-production? That is Shola from Bagada.
Okay, Shola from Bagada, thank you. Our work starts in what we call pre-production. Our work starts early. For instance, when I was serving as art direction production designer for the movie called At Ease, which is on Amazon Prime, if I may say, we had to fly to Abuja. We had to go to a place we used as a hideout for people involved in unsavory activities, kidnapping, because the story is about PTSD of a Nigerian military official, right? And we had to do some extensive recce's. We needed to do research to build encampments that work with the vehicle of the story.
Wow.
So that's typical stuff. So our work starts when you have a script.
Pre-production.
Pre-production. Once you have a script and you've been identified and penciled as the person working on the project, you do a sit down, you do a breakdown, whereby you say these are the things I need per scene. Then you work with your director to see that what you're doing adheres to his own creative vision, right? And then you talk about money and budget and all of that. And by the time you go back and forth and you create and you set to go, and typically you are meant to work ahead of time. But because of the cyclic nature of filmmaking and the fact that you don't necessarily shoot in sequence, you don't shoot in sequence. So you find out that you have to be ready almost at every point in time. Of course, there are going to be tough days at the office. There are days you'll be like, man, waiting, carry me, come to this kind of. And there will be days people will tell you, wow, you did an excellent job at case maybe. So that's part of the intense work in film. There are very few instances where you have to do work in post-production. And what I can only say is that sometimes you do reshoots, right? Whereby they've seen that they've done their first, cut, and they realize that, there are some things they need to do. They call you back, and obviously you hope it's not going to be an elaborate setup again, And like I say, since the average consumer has not seen a movie in quotes, they don't know how you can do the magic and merge your scenes together, as case may be. But our work starts with pre-production and continues
all the way.
We are the first to get on set, we are the last to leave, and that's it.
Okay, all right. So I hope, Shola, that that sets your mind on what you need to do if you want to start working pre-production. Now we have Jimo from Jibowu. Jimo says, if I want to work as an art director, what are the steps to take, and how do I project myself after taking those steps?
So, an art
that
director,
is Jimo from Jibowu.
JJ. So,
JJ.
So, an art director, you need to be artistic. You need to know a measure of art appreciation. The art director is meant to be the one that knows what looks good and what doesn't look good. Okay? So, you must have a background. Typically, maybe you have a background in fine arts. I'm not saying you must be a fine artist, but you have a background in fine arts. Or you have an aesthetic eye. Some people, usually an art director works with floor plans, and it's a position where you work with other people too, so you can engage other people who may be better draftsmen than you, people that can draw. But ultimately, you should be able to envision something. So an art director reads, an art director studies historical influences, because a lot of things you are creating are either contemporary, modern, or should I say futuristic or epic. So you're going to do a lot of art appreciation. So an art director reads, you must read, and you must be observant of your environment. You must be able to know that this looks like what. You must research, you must like reading about old stuff. So when you have that basic orientation, I would say you should start in a kind of apprentice mode. Now, there are film schools. There are some film schools that offer courses in art direction, set design. A couple of them include the film school by something, it escapes my mind, Cap Academy does.
Well, a couple of schools.
A couple of schools
yes.
do, right?
Yeah.
So you go in, you learn. I studied architecture, so it was a bit easy for me to transition into studying or doing art direction, as the case may be. So no matter what your background is, you must have the time and the temperament to be artistically inclined and curious. So when you do that, you try to get on a film set, because a lot of theory might be out there, but it's practical. You need to see how people work. You need to see that it's not just, and you start from a particular department. You either come as a props person or as a set person, because when you grow in both roles, you decide to be an art director that can combine the two functions, as the case may be. But the important thing is find a way to get invested in going to film sets, find a way to get access to film sets, or could call any art directors I'm one, or that go online art directors in Nigeria, and find a way to engage them, and be polite in your request. I'm interested in this, I would like to be part of this, and you come correct. Most people will give you an audience if they know you have something to offer. So nobody just comes, But ultimately, until you meet an art director who tells you whether you have it
or you don't have it.
And again, there are many people that have been told they don't have it, but they stick with it and they push through. But the important thing is, I always advise, come and see what the normal day is for an art director, and tell yourself whether this is for me
or not. Okay, all right, so that's a challenge for some of our viewers. If you have your questions or comments, let's have another viewer here says that is it possible to use storylines, movie lines, to look at or to measure such national issues as impoverishment, homelessness, and even bad governance in Nigeria? Is it possible that we can get storylines to depict, to let us know how bad, just like you said, how bad these situations are?
Storylines are already doing that. The only thing is, I know there are some policy laws in place about defining the country or demarketing the country. Ultimately, you want to treat your storyline with a bit of respect and regard. You don't want to be gratuitous. So this question itself is something that scriptwriters may be able to answer in more detail. But ultimately, if you have something to say, like I said, even in the Bible, parables were used to depict stories. If what you have to say is very controversial, then you can set it in a, should I say, fictional situation. Because even as stories, as filmmakers, we always put a caveat that this thing you are watching is based on fictional, except it's maybe something that's like a historical, that has the permission of the family or the estate of the person you are talking about. So now we can talk about bad governance, but you can situate it in fictional settings that has been done by people like T.K. Shaworeda, things like that. So you see that every day. You just need to be creative and avoid trouble. You understand? But the important thing is when you do a story, and the critical thing is when you do a story, you also want to involve people to be sure that you are not going to cross boundaries and offend other people, right? And ultimately, the census board is the one that ultimately decides
if that story will fly
or not. But you don't want to spend all that money to do a film and the censor board tells you no.
Okay, so that is it. We also have Yomi from Yaba. Yomi says, I'm an interior designer. Can I work in the capacity of an art director? He wants to know from you, Yomi.
Yes, Yomi. So interior design is what we do, only that we do a lot of things that do not have to be structurally structurally strong. Let me explain. You are fooling the camera. The interior design for the camera doesn't mean that you are going to use tiles. You are going to use things that look like tiles to suggest it. So as an interior designer, you already have.
You're not going to construct. You're not going to construct.
You are not building a house. You know, you are building what you are using wood, you are using metal, you are using plastics. So and as an interior designer, I'll say you already have a leg up, right? What you are going to be learning is how to defocus your mind from saying, can't we break this, and is to say, look, you are basically doing surface treatment, and ultimately you're already on your way to being an art director. But again, you still need to be part of the industry. You still need to see how it works. When I started working at Tinsel, I had my construction crew educate me on certain ways and positioning of doors, for instance. When you are working with concrete, you can position your door at the edge of a wall. But when you are buying materials, my good carpenter guys told me that, Oga, if you position this door here, you are spoiling and wasting material. The way we buy materials in the market is better to position in sequences, so that when you cut, you have no off cut. So usually you find out that as you get more experience, you learn how to manage your budget based on how you cut. So you might do a design that looks nice, then you give it somebody and they tell you go waste money. So you learn those. So as an interior designer, you're already on your way in, but you need to come on set. You need to work with people like us. You need to work with people that can show you that practically. So, and sometimes be like, no, this is no. If the camera likes it, it's fine.
All right. Okay. So that is again. Many of you, I don't know where your questions are landing, but if the questions are not here, by the time we round up with Leo, we'll now send those questions to our social media handles so that Leo can then deal with them. Now there's what they call NFT, non-fungible tokens. Coming from arts. That is, you want to sell your creative works, so you want to sell to those digital coins. Now, is that plausible in Nigeria?
So your question is basically saying, can you sell ice to the Eskimos? I know that there was a time there was an NFT trend.
Yes.
And Nigeria was involved. Some of our leading intellectual lights were involved in NFTs. But at some point, it was like a bubble, right? And I would say that the essential story in that is that your intellectual property, right?
So you have to be careful.
You have to be careful. And ultimately, whether it's NFT tokens or any other form in which you do your stuff, you just need to be sure that the environment in which you are transacting your business is safe and is regulated. So digital artists, if that bubble burst, it was a worldwide thing.
Yes,
it wasn't just Nigeria.
Yes.
So that's the much I can say about that. But ultimately, any artist that creates art is like a laborer deserves his wages. And art in itself is intellectual work. So your wages should come to you. You keep at it, you hang in there, and one day you'll be rewarded.
Thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
So he has told you, well, okay, so your intellectual property, that is what we are trying to find expression for. You better make sure that the environment is well protected. He's an experienced set designer and director. He has given you the way to join, if that is what you think you want to do, how to join that and be able to also take part in the story of Nigeria. So until next week, it is again bye from us, but close flow is never over. Just go to our social media handles and go and talk to Leo and let him give you all his paper blessing. Until next week, bye for now.